Hi, it's Steve from Brownells here, and I've got Bobby Tyler from Tyler Gunworks in Texas, and today we wanted to talk about custom guns. Form versus function, pretty versus performance. Bobby, welcome aboard.
Yep.
Thanks for coming back to talk with us.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you know custom guns about as well as anybody.
Well, we've been very fortunate to have a lot of options and opportunities to work with a lot of great customers.
Right, but you can do pretty and performance.
We can, and they're both important. But you've got to start at the ground floor and get your foundation before you can build the building.
Sure.
So what I would like to do is dive right into the fact that it can be pretty, but if it doesn't shoot, you've missed the whole point.
There's a lot of ornate guns out there that don't function.
That's right. And so I like to start with the action and the accuracy, and then I build around it.
Okay.
So with action, there's some different things we can talk about here. So action just doesn't mean that you pull the hammer back and you pull the trigger. Mm-hmm. As you know, there's a whole lot more to it.
There's a lot going on inside there.
Yeah, there really is. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive into it in just a little bit of depth here. So when you cock the hammer back, if you'll notice, a lot of things just happen there. Mm-hmm. And for what you think just happened there, multiply it by about 10, and that's what actually just happened. And so the actual timing of the revolver is just as important in the setup and lockup of the revolver as it is the hammer coming back.
Right. Things have to happen in a certain sequence or it's not going to work.
Absolutely. And that also improves the longevity of the parts in the firearm, but it totally affects the overall performance.
Sure. So you go ahead and go in there, evaluate it first, right?
We do.
See what you've got to work with.
We go in and we decide, is it fast, is it slow, is it on time? Mm-hmm. If it's on time, then that's a non-issue. We'll go right into the rest of the action. So setting the timing on the revolver, you want to make sure that your chambers are lined up with the force and cone, perfect alignment. Lockup, when the bolt comes up, slides up the leads, perfect lockup.
Right.
Right as the hammer reaches the rear of its lockup.
You want to hear that click.
That's right. When it hits. Yep. Yeah, you want to, right there. Mm-hmm. Everything happened at one time. Yep. So after you get that, obviously an action job, you immediately think slick it up, hammer, which is very important. Yeah. And our goal is a 2.5 pound crisp pull, not a hair trigger.
Right.
We're looking for maximizing the performance of the actual revolver.
A nice action means you will shoot the gun better.
That's
normally.
Right. That's right. I always say that the best place to start working on your shot is with the performance of your.
Anything that makes that gun easier for you to shoot is going to do better for your performance as well.
Absolutely. No, that's absolutely right. So let's skip over the action and let's start talking about the accuracy. We refer to it as an action job and accuracy package. Mm-hmm. So in our accuracy package, we are talking about your cylinder gap.
Yep.
We're talking about barrel crown. We're talking about a little more in depth on the alignment of the cylinder to the force and cone.
If need be, yeah.
And the recess in the force and cone, we'll go in and cut that to an 11 degree.
Nice. You also have to look at the front end of those chambers, see what throat size is, because anybody knows that that's important.
Yeah, and it's a production product, and sometimes there could be small variances in the throats.
Right.
And if you get into hand loading or doing much different variety of genre of shooting, you need to know what those throats are. Mm-hmm.
If you've got one that's undersized or oversized, it's going to throw that bullet in just a little different place, maybe a lot different.
Absolutely.
If they're all the same size, you've got a much better chance of a nice round group.
Right. So going back to, we've covered the action, we've covered the accuracy. Now let's start talking about some other functional items that are cosmetic, but not so much, we're not in the finished stage yet.
Okay.
So you've got some different grip frame options, if you'll notice.
Very important.
And my hand and your hand does not take the same size grip.
No.
So you could take 10 of your best sportsman shooters and say, which 10 grips do you like? And it's going to probably be a big bucket full of opinions.
It is. It is. I have certain grips that work for me, and some I can't hit the broadside of a barn with.
Right, right. And likewise with myself as well. So, and if you'll notice here with us today, we've got factory Ruger Bisleys. We've got number 5, which needs no introduction. And we've got, this one here is a Ronnie Wells grip frame that is called the Dealer. And these 3 different grip frames that we have with us, they have 3 different feels.
Right. Now these are available in brass or aluminum, if I remember.
They
right.
are.
And they're machined just out of a piece of solid stock.
They are.
They're not
and
cast.
if you'll notice, when our guys fit these, I mean, he sanded this to an absolute 1-to-1 fit.
Yeah, you should know these are not just a drop-in. They are a machine chunk, and you have to blend them and make everything contoured. And
they are.
There's a little bit of work in it.
A lot of meat to come off to get this. So you can decide, well, do I want a smooth grip surface? Do I want a textured stag type? They have, you know, different purposes for.
The feel is totally different. Like on this light caliber gun here, this is a 32. These smooth grips are just fine. But on something that kicks a little more, those stags feel really good in recoil.
They
to
do.
me anyway.
They do. So you'll notice you've got different hammers here as well. You've got different reaches. Everybody's thumbs. I mean, look at the difference in your thumb and my thumb. Obviously, I need quite a bit shorter hammer than you do.
And some people like to cock it with their master hand. Some people like to cock it with the offhand.
That's absolutely
different
right.
styles.
So this is the Montano hammer. You've got Bisley hammers in the rest of these. Obviously, there's the Super Blackhawk hammer we use. There's a standard hammer. There's the long spur, the Vaquero. There's a lot of options, and it really makes for a fun and interesting conversation when you.
These Montano hammers are out of production, aren't they?
We
used to get requests on those all the time on the tech line.
Right, and they're such a classy looking hammer.
Yeah, that's a nice looking hammer. I don't know why Ruger did away with it.
When we went through and designed this build, it was a no-brainer. That hammer was going in that revolver.
It looks good on there.
So, keeping on working your way through, sticking with functional things that are cosmetic, work your way right on through the sights.
Yeah.
A set of 20-year-old eyes versus a set of 70 and 80-year-old eyes that there's guys shooting these until they can't anymore.
Right.
And blade width, blade height,
Yeah.
style. You got your gold bead versus partridge sight. You've got so many different options. It's important for a guy to know what works with their eyes.
Exactly. What you think is pretty might not work well for you on the range. I can't use white outlines anymore. They fuzz the whole rear window for me now.
Right.
That just came on a couple of years ago.
A lot of your shooters will go in and will thin the front blade so that they can get a little more light between the rear and the front blade.
I do like that.
And what that does is it just opens up that window and gives those eyes a chance to readjust around that sight pitch.
Yeah, even in the auto pistol world, Novak started offering those wide notch sights, and we sell a lot of those.
So we install a lot of the Furman Garza front sights. We use some of the Freedom Arm bases, and they give different options.
Right.
With the Freedom, you can do interchangeable blades, you can do interchangeable heights. With the Furman, he goes in and he builds a fantastic quality sight. He gives some custom options. And one of the things I really like about it is the vintage retro look that looks like it goes on there, but it still has the function, pretty and the performance.
And he just machines it out of a block.
He does, and he's good at what he's doing.
Yeah, he is.
So,
but sights make all the difference for me.
They do. So I guess we've covered action, accuracy. We've covered grip frames, grips, obviously. We've covered sights. I'd say now it's time to talk about
Pretty.
the fun part.
Yeah, pretty.
So we've talked about the important part.
Yeah.
So we like to go in and finish them. And, you know, to me, you don't want a gun that shoots like the house on fire, but it's ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've gone to this much trouble. The difference in finishing one out and not is, at the end of the day, it's really not much difference to do it right.
No.
So getting your
Once
polish correct, getting your lines polished in the same direction. You know, say you've got this in the milling machine, you're cutting a cut on the front sight, you're facing off the gold bead, you've got some rough marks, you've got edges from holding it in V-blocks.
Yep.
Polish them out.
Get rid of all that stuff because it shows up on the final finish.
It really does.
It really does show up.
Probably one of my biggest pet peeves on a custom revolver, and I've seen some and handled some of the finest custom revolvers that there are, is a lot of the makers, they won't take time and mark them appropriately.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they'll take a stamp and put a 44 over a 357 or maker's marks. At the end of the day, the customer's buying this product, and they deserve to have the maker's mark on it to give them every opportunity for the lifetime of that firearm to go through that cycle.
Right, and it's not that big a deal to have a custom stamp made with your logo on it.
It's really
or
not. Yeah.
if you really want to invest, if you're doing high volume, you can get a laser engraver.
Right.
And make them any size, any place you want.
So I highly advise, with whatever maker you're working with, after you go through the performance, the function, you go through finish, you decide what finish you want. You can go color case, you can go blue, you can go high polish, you can go with satin if you're going to be out hunting in the rocks.
And you can do combinations of blued and stainless.
Correct. But I highly, highly recommend that you have the receiver marked with the caliber, and your maker's mark on the barrel.
That's just common sense. You want it marked properly for what it actually is now,
correct,
not what it used to be. Well, we've covered function, we've covered form to a certain extent, but we're leaving out something when it comes to a custom gun, and that's engraving.
Yes.
Even if you just want your name on it or something, or some scroll work, and what do you got? What do you
so
got
I have
there?
a Ruger Bearcat. Pretty much a full custom build. Let's just pull this one out.
Oh, look at the barrel on that.
So this is a 22 Magnum Target Bearcat.
Oh man!
If you'll look at it, it is, and we did the same thing. It doesn't matter if we're building a 22 Magnum off a Bearcat platform, or we're building a 44 Special off a Blackhawk. It doesn't matter.
Look at the size of that barrel.
So same thing. We started fit function. This one has full action job, timing, the whole package. We jumped right into caliber conversion. I mean, this one is a same thing, different build, same basic principles.
As a big gun, yeah.
So we got to the finish part, and we decided let's go ahead and put some engraving on this one. It's not, it's not the heaviest engraved gun we've ever done, but if you'll notice, it does have engraving in spots.
It has accents here and there.
It does. And it says, "Look at me, I'm engraved," but not over the top.
I like that. I like that better than full coverage, personally.
Yeah.
I really think that's tasteful.
And this one, we decided to go ahead and kind of take the vintage approach, and we marked it on the barrel. Nice. We tried to take little opportunities to pay homage to where we came from. And
plus you got plenty of room left over if the owner decides he wants his name put on there, like Elmer Keith did back in the day.
Right.
You could do that.
Yeah.
Plenty of canvas left there.
People will say, well, engraving, so does that mean if I engrave it I have to put it in the safe and not use it?
No, hopefully not.
You know why Elmer Keith had his engraved?
Why?
He engraved it in order to be able to protect it, to not show scratches.
Oh, well, yeah. Engraving does camouflage a good deal.
Yeah. So what he did is and his was pretty heavily engraved. It was a number 5 built that really a lot of these are inspiration from that gun, but he had the whole gun engraved. That way, when he was cowboying and riding and working and rubbing up against an old cedar post, he's not really going to scratch it because
he was a practical man.
It was all scratched up already.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was wanting to share today and just go through A to Z,
Right.
function.
And you can go even further if you want. You can have gold inlay, you can have silver inlay.
You can, yeah.
Do whatever you like. Put little emblems and whatever on there. But
make it your project,
yeah,
you know?
exactly. So, pretty cool. Well, I think we about covered it. So thank you very much for coming, Bobby. I sure appreciate it.
Absolutely. Pleasure.
Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. In the meantime, we'll see you later.